Well, this question is for all of our judicial candidates. I think we'll start at our nominees, I should say. We will start with Ms. Sanchez, and then we'll work down to Mr. Schenker. The D.C. courts handle a very, very high volume of cases, and vacancies on both the Superior Court and Court of Appeals have, without question, increased this backlog considerably. So my question for each of you is, if confirmed, how will you manage your caseload efficiently while also ensuring that everybody who comes before you has a meaningful opportunity to be heard? Ms. Sanchez, we'll start with you.
Thank you for the question, Senator. As an assistant United States attorney, I have had a lot of experience handling large volume caseload. If I am confirmed as a judge, I would ensure that the parties know the expectations at each status hearing. I would ensure that I am prepared, and I would ensure that I am listening to everything that the parties are saying and reading what they file, and also ensure that I reach reasoned decisions with diligence.
Very good.
Thank you, Senator. I agree with my co-nominee. I would also like to add that having been an administrative law judge for the past 16 years, I have learned that efficiency is greatly important to adjudicating cases. It's important to make sure that all parties are aware of what's expected of them at the beginning of the hearing, and that they expect to be held to those expectations and requirements. And once we have those clear goals set, we're able to facilitate the case efficiently and effectively. Thank you.
I agree with both of my co-nominees, and I would add that as a judge, I would put in all of the necessary time and effort to make sure that I am ready and prepared in court each day so that my calendar is managed efficiently. I've had the privilege of working for a district court judge who managed his calendar in that way, and I think that with my experience, having practiced in Superior Court, and my familiarity with the D.C. Code, I'd be able to quickly resolve matters that were presented in front of me.
Thank you, Chairman Peters. I'm acutely aware of the need to work through the backlog in the D.C. court system, as well as move cases with dispatch without sacrificing due care and attention. I have a heavy caseload at the Department of Justice. I have always prioritized preparation and responsiveness and efficiency. I think if I were fortunate enough to be confirmed as a judge, I would work to be prepared, to apply strict standards for extensions, to circulate my draft opinions promptly, and to quickly look at my colleagues' draft opinions. Very good.
This next question will be for all of you as well, and I'll start with you, Ms. Meek, and then work down that way, and then end at Ms. Sanchez. In your view, what is the proper temperament of a judge? And you could think back through your career, how have you developed the elements that are going to be necessary to have the appropriate judicial temperament that you will need to exhibit if confirmed?
I believe that components of the proper temperament for a judge, patience, understanding, respect for the parties is very important, fairness. If all of these things are applied, then it makes for a very good process for the parties. It makes for good due process for the parties, and it makes the job easier for the judge, actually. Thank you.
Very good. Ms. Crane.
I agree with my co-nominee and would add that being open-minded is extremely important, and giving both parties an opportunity to raise the issues before me and then evaluate those carefully by listening closely to the parties would be an important trait as well.
Thank you. I agree with my co-nominees as well. I generally consider respect, humility, collegiality, and impartiality as the hallmarks of a judicial temperament.
Ms. Sanchez?
Thank you. I concur as well. I would add that I think a dedication to the rule of law is also particularly necessary for a judge.
Next question, last question will be for Mr. Schenker, Ms. Crane, and Ms. Sanchez, the three of you. As you shift from the role of an advocate to the role of an impartial adjudicator, how are you preparing to make this transition if confirmed? Mr. Schenker.
Thank you, Chairman Peters. I'm acutely aware of the critical differences between an advocate and an impartial arbiter. If I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, I commit to addressing all of my cases and the parties before me with impartiality, without bias, without prejudgment. and putting in the work in terms of reading the briefs, reading the cases, and listening to the arguments fairly and impartially.
Ms. Crane?
As an assistant United States attorney for the past 8 years, I have often been required to anticipate the arguments of the opposing side, and I think that skill of constantly thinking about the flaws in my case as an advocate will prepare me well to be able to clearly see both sides and be prepared to listen fairly to both sides before me.
Ms. Sanchez?
Thank you. I agree with my fellow nominees. I think that as an assistant United States attorney, I have had the experience of also working with victims and working with witnesses, and so also recognize the importance, quality that a judge would have to ensure that individuals that come before are heard and listened to, and also I have also had the experience of having to assess cases and being able to step back and see whether the facts apply to the law.
Very good. Well, I would like to thank, once again, each of our nominees for joining us here today and for your willingness to serve in these very important positions that you have been nominated for. The nominees have filed responses to biographical and financial questionnaires, and without objection, this information will be made a part of the hearing record with the exception of the financial data, which is on file and available for public inspection in the committee offices. The hearing record will remain open until 12 p.m. tomorrow, September 22nd, for the submission of statements and questions for the record. This hearing is now adjourned.